Good evening and welcome back to another live stream, one of our first back since the start of the new year. Not done many full public live streams. We've been concentrating on our members only in the Discord, but we are back. We have loads of news to cover after an eventful first 2 weeks of the year. We've got loads of big news breaking, we have loads of macro data breaking, and we have crypto looking pretty bullish for the start of the year. Make sure to drop a like on this stream. We've got loads of content planned for the next few weeks. And yeah, drop a like, share it, get people involved. This is the year for crypto. Now, if we look at Bitcoin up until today, we had been in a pretty healthy uptrend. I think today is a correction that was probably needed after what was pretty much a straight up from the 1st of January. Bit of a strange one, to be fair, but we'll dive into the markets, dive into what I think's going on, where I think we could go next, and why I am super bullish for 2026. Let's have a look in the chat. We can see quite a few people already in. Nice, that is very nice. If you are new to the channel and you've never been on, or you don't know what CC Pro is, it's our private members Discord. I'll just drop the link nice and early, get it out the way, and then we can crack on. Alright, so Bitcoin, yeah, like we said, so it's pretty much been an uptrend since this 18th of December, but we did kind of just start moving up nicely from the 1st of January. We're now up almost 10%. We reached this 97,800 level a few days ago, yesterday, sorry, and Bitcoin's kind of corrected from there, which, to be honest, I thought we'd get the correction last night, not tonight. Bitcoin obviously moved through this 95k level. When futures closed a few nights ago, it literally just exploded. We could probably see that on the hourly time frame. Yeah, you can see 11 o'clock at night, we just get this massive candle breaking that key resistance. And if you actually look at that green bar, you can see it's been a massive support level in the past. Then it acted as resistance back at the 3rd of December, resistance in the 10th of December, resistance again on the 7th of January, and finally, 2 days ago, we broke through it. Now you can see we did back test this level yesterday. This is really healthy for me. I do think we could come down from here. We could come down as low even to 92.5, I think, and it would still be pretty healthy. We have gone up quite quickly, and there's not really been a catalyst, to be honest. There's not been any bullish narrative to go along with this. A lot of speculation about the Clarity Act, but to me that wasn't what was driving the market. It was really just people positioning for 2026. If we look at the Bitcoin futures chart, you can see 95.4, pretty much in line with spot. What is healthy is we've filled most of the gaps. So these CME gaps have been filled. This one down here at 88,000 remains unfilled. And I think it probably will for the next wee while. I can't see it being filled this week, maybe even next week. I can't see it being filled. So Bitcoin looking pretty healthy. Ethereum performing really well. Got up above the $3,300 level last night. Nice and solid move. You can see this is a really healthy pattern. This low, higher low again, and then you start to get some positive momentum. We've seen that chart pattern play out numerous times over the years. Looking really strong. I do think a back test back down to 3,150, maybe even come back down to $3,000 wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Just clear out some of the leverage. We do get a lot of speculation, a lot of open interest open when the market starts to fly, so it would make sense to come back down. Across the altcoins, getting hammered pretty heavy today. We'll dive into some of the news stories which might be driving that as well. Alright, let's jump out the chat, see who is in. We've got Lee Crypto, we have BDon, Nix is here for the Lambo, aren't we all? And we've got a few requests for some altcoins as well. Let's have a look at XRP. So XRP trading back down at 206. Really, XRP's been pretty volatile since before the kind of the 10-10 capitulation event has really hammered the market, but XRP's really struggled. It's been really volatile in that period as well. We saw moves up, massive moves down. It's just moving a bit differently from the rest of the market, and it's not showed the same amount of strength. It's not broke any key levels. You would say maybe it broke the 230 level, but it instantly got rejected back from it. So really looking to see XRP get back up above the 200-day moving average, which sits at 256. Once we're above that, then we get a lot more confidence that higher prices are inbound. Jamie's saying he sold off loads of stocks to stack up on Uniswap. Nice. Yeah, Uniswap, to be fair, under $6, absolute bargain. Down in the low fives, an amazing price to buy. You can see as well on the 3-day chart, you can see that the upside potential is huge. We've got some pretty obvious levels. You've got this level here at 12. You've then got, you'd probably say around this level here, around $18. So what's that? 3x from here. But really, Uniswap can rise much faster than that. It could go beyond that. I think $18 is pretty conservative. And also, I know leverage is probably a dirty word because of what happened in October, but if you look at $18 from here, 253% move, you use 5x leverage, you're up 1,000% on that trade. Downside, you could easily set a stop loss just below $5, pretty well protected there. So it would look something like this, up to 18, we'll take it up to there. And then just set your stop loss literally down below this wick low from 3rd of November. That gives you quite a nice range. It allows the price to move, and you've got a decent stop as well if it moves down. So yeah, Uniswap looks really good, so hopefully you sold a decent amount of stocks. Speaking of stocks, we are seeing the Russell at all-time highs breaking out. I think we'll probably start to see more follow through in the second half of January. There was a big tax deadline today in the US. As of tomorrow, any business in the States that buys equipment, machinery, chips, data centers, all that infrastructure, they can write off 100% of the cost to their tax bill. So I do think we'll see a lot of expenses going through. That'll be bullish for the Russell, and it'll be bullish for liquidity in the economy. We're seeing the Dow Jones at all-time highs. We're seeing the S&P 500 all-time highs. NASDAQ just below, looks like it could pop tomorrow. And then we're seeing MicroStrategy still really struggling. So yeah, mixed bag. Metals, all-time highs galore for the metals. Silver put in a new all-time high yesterday of 93.6. Sold off today, but this is how you know there's insane buying demand for silver right now. You can see sold off as low as $86 earlier today, and it's immediately been bought up. That's an insane move for $4.5 trillion asset. And then gold looks like it's going to put in new all-time highs by, if not tomorrow, definitely next week. We will look at Borg, we will look at Bitcoin and when we'll break 100k, and yeah, we might look at Kronos as well. Let's jump through the news, because I think there's a lot of news stories breaking, and we've not really talked about the news in a while on this channel. So let's start. So this isn't really news, this is more just an interesting fact or an interesting stat. So Joe Burnett has worked out what Bitcoin to silver parity would be based on market cap, and right now that would put Bitcoin at $257,000. Bitcoin to gold parity would be 1.6 million in market cap. Now, I don't think we're going to get there anytime soon, but what I do think is a big percentage of gold's market cap will eventually flow into Bitcoin. I think we're going to experience one of the biggest wealth transfers in history over the next 10 to 15 years. The reason for that is the boomers, sadly, are going to pass away. They're going to pass their wealth, their enormous wealth, down to their children, and they're going to be able to have digital options for gold, silver. They're going to have Bitcoin, but they're not going to buy physical metal and store it in a vault. Like, it's just not going to be a thing for the younger generation, in my opinion. I also think there's going to be loads of equity and value come out of things like property. I think property will be under enormous pressure in the next 5 years to bring prices down. So I think we'll see a lot of market cap from these traditional investment assets flow into crypto, and particularly Bitcoin. So I don't think $1.6 million Bitcoin is mental. I think it's probably 10 to 15 years away. But still, that's still a 16x from where we are today. That's still going to perform better than almost every other asset on the planet in that period. Now, if we look across, so Kobayashi letter, they are reporting that President Trump has reached a trade deal with Taiwan, lowering tariffs, but part of the agreement is Taiwanese chip companies will invest $250 billion in the US. Why is this something to talk about? Because it's going to bring more liquidity into the US, more capital into the US. It's going to drive the economy higher. As GDP grows higher, as PMIs go higher, that is bullish for crypto. So while we talk about a lot of macro, a lot of maybe political stuff, it all feeds into the massive liquidity cycle that we are about to experience. Saudi Arabia opening up its financial markets, again, the exact same thing. It's just more liquidity in the global economy, more flows equal higher prices, and ultimately more government money printing. Alright, so most of you have probably seen this story. So Bank of America, a lot of the banks in the States have written to oppose the Clarity Act, and one of the key issues is stablecoin yield. So if you hold Tether, they don't want Tether to be able to pay you interest on your holdings. Why? Because if they did that, then every bank in the world would probably collapse overnight, because people would move their money into stablecoins, because the interest would be much fairer and it would be a lot higher for holders. Bank of America estimates that 6 trillion just from the US banking system would flow into stablecoins if they were allowed to pay interest. $6 trillion. It would absolutely cripple the global economy. While most people are going to be anti this because they're going to say it's unfair and whatever, to be honest, as much as I am pro crypto, I am kind of okay with the banks not collapsing globally, because let's be serious, that's not going to be good for anyone. Bar chart showing 7.8 trillion is now sitting in money market funds. This money will start to flow into assets as this rate here, the 2-year, starts to drop with rate cuts. We've already seen it drop quite fast over the past couple of years. As this drops further, once it gets back into the threes, the low threes, Trump gets his interest cuts that he wants, this money is going to flow somewhere that pays higher interest than 3%. That's going to be crypto. The upside for crypto is ridiculous for this year. I think they'll take up maybe 1 to 2 trillion of this money. And then this is a topic we cover a lot, is silver. Physical silver absolutely flying in China, up over $13 an ounce versus spot prices in the US. Physical silver is hard to come by. I think the UK premium on physical silver is about 60% right now, and most places are sold out of certain bars and coins. So yeah, huge move in silver, and it's all driven by AI. And then lastly, Swissborg have announced Base is their latest chain to integrate. So you can now get base tokens on Swissborg for the first time ever. This is huge for me. I think this is a big move for Swissborg. I think they've incorporated loads of chains like Arbitrum, Berachain, a few others as well. But I think Base is a top chain. I think it was essential they finally listed it, and good to see that they're starting with some tokens as well. Aerodrome Finance we've spoke about a lot on this channel. So yeah, good to see Swissborg finally launching Base. I think it'll make life a lot easier as well, because there's a lot of tokens that chase the volume that Base can offer, and Swissborg obviously couldn't list those tokens. So that's going to be very bullish, and just another product offering from Swissborg. Speaking of Swissborg, let's look at the chart. So down 7% today, kind of just in line with the market, to be honest. If we look at some of the bigger market cap, Uniswap down 7%, Algo down 6%, Filecoin, Sushi, Sand, Loopring, like they're all down 6-7%. Don't think it's anything out of the ordinary. I think everybody, it's a strange one. When the markets go red, everybody gets annoyed and then accepts it. When the markets go green, they get annoyed that their tokens aren't moving when other tokens are. It's quite a strange one. I think Borg, because probably if you're in CC Pro, if you're part of our private members community, you probably are quite heavily allocated to Borg. I don't think that's an issue. I think long term it's going to do very well. I think we just need to be patient. If you look at the others chart, so the others chart is the total market cap of crypto, excluding the top 10. You can see it's putting in a bit of an inverse head and shoulders. So if we draw this, something like this. This is a really bullish pattern to see, especially as we're at a key trend line. If we break and hold above this, then we could get back into these highs. That's what's going to bring liquidity into altcoins like Borg. But right now, like, we're still relatively low. If we look on the weekly chart, you can see we're still way down. Yeah, we've not even got going. I think this week's been nice seeing green in the markets, not seeing huge amounts of red every single day. But ultimately, the markets have barely moved. They're down, even since this is the Trump pump that took us up here. We're still down, 50%. So a week of 5, 6, 7% moves is nice, but really we've still got much higher to go. We'll eclipse this all-time high probably in the next 3 months. I think it's on to the races at that point. All right, let's see who is in the chat, what questions we've got. Let's see. Sean is talking about... Sorry, I need to scroll through. Yeah. Well, to be fair, I mean, Borg's basically stayed pretty flat through this whole period. Yeah, it's not dipped back down to the trend line. It could come back down to this. Looks like it's holding above the weekly 200 MA. I think people just need to zoom out and stay patient. Yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about it. Stablecoin market cap back to all-time highs as well. That's really healthy for the market. But stablecoin dominance has risen today. So here we are here. You can see we've started selling off. We've actually bounced back today. So that's probably why altcoins are selling off a little bit. I think this is just a back test. I think we could come up as high as this green bar, maybe 8.4%, and then drop. And that'll bring liquidity back to altcoins. I think this is just a brief correction. I wouldn't be too stressed about it. It's not going to go on for weeks. It might go on for another few days, but nothing too crazy. And then we've got the FOMC on the 28th. So end of the month. So 2 weeks yesterday we'll get the decision. This is interesting timing because we are going to have a lot of data that all have came out by then. So next week we've got PCE, inflation, we have more jobs numbers, but also we'll have a lot of the earnings before then. Earnings will definitely have a big impact on this number. We'll also have a better idea of Q4 GDP. All feeding into this. We might even have who is going to be the new Fed chair. So this can all change. We've seen it rise. So I think it was down at 2% yesterday. I'm sure it was down at 2%. Maybe on Polymarket it was. So it has technically risen over the last 24 hours, the chance of a rate cut. I still think it's going to happen. I'm pretty bullish that we'll get a rate cut. I think there's a bit of a fight going on between Jerome Powell and Trump. It's now went to the courts. He's been subpoenaed. But ultimately, it's a bad look for everybody. And if Powell doesn't cut rates now, he looks political. And if he does, he looks like he's bending the knee to Trump. So he can't really win at this stage. If I was him, I would just cut. And if things go bad after he leaves, he did what everybody pressured him to do. But we'll see. Let's have a look. Hank, drift didn't rug. Yeah, I think I spoke to the team before Christmas and they were still, they were still operating anyway. Definitely didn't rug. Right, let's have a look at CRV. I actually, so I do one-to-one calls. So if you have like a question you want to ask, but you want to go into depth, you want to understand your portfolio, you want to know how to set up TradingView, you want to know how to even get started in crypto if you're new, I do one-to-one calls. I done one the other night and we were talking about CRV. I'm super bullish on CRV. I'm actually bullish on the entire DeFi space. I think DeFi is going to be a massive narrative over the next few years. The reason for that is because it's getting safer. So the more liquidity that comes out of the market, the safer these protocols are. The yield is far superior to what you'll get in a traditional bank, but also you can now start to generate double yields. So via looping, there's loads of different strategies from very risky to not very risky. I think DeFi is going to be massive. I think we're finally at a stage where the protocols are battle tested. I think Solana's got probably the best ones, but I think CRV is good. But if you look at some of the stuff on Solana that they're doing right now with Staked Sol and Jito Sol and RWA's coming on chain, I've spoke about the silver, tokenized silver coming with yield and borrow and lend. This is all going to change the face of traditional finance, and I think DeFi is going to be bullish. So I do think CRV will do very well in the long run. For me, I think this level here, around 131 or 133, this is just going to be like a stopping point. It's going to go way higher. And you look, it's one of the cleanest charts. It respects levels so well. You've got this 85-cent level. Once we get above that, you could see the 133, 132 level. Once we get through that, this thing could take off because there's no real sell pressure once we get beyond that. So $3 from here, easy, and then probably much higher. And as more capital rotates into these protocols, it actually generates more fees. That's more bullish for the token, and it all just becomes a big flywheel where the more capital, the more fees, the more capital, the more fees. It's really healthy, and I think it'll do very well. So I'm really bullish on CRV. Ondo, I know somebody was talking about the other day. I'm bullish on them. They're bringing stocks on chain. There's loads of reasons to be bullish on RWAs and DeFi. Let's have a look. We'll look at Cardano. And we'll look at Jazzmate as well. So Series A, Series A was a stock purchase. So you were buying a seed round equity play. These things take years to play out. If you invested in early stage Uber, you probably couldn't sell for like 10 years. That's kind of that's just the type of investment it was. It was a stock pre-IPO, not liquid, and it was a seed round type investment. There's no real issue with it. It's the more the company grows, the more value it adds, the more users, the more that share will be worth at one point in time. Eventually they'll either sell, get acquired, or IPO. That's when it'll probably become liquid. I know they've spoke about making it liquid before then, but EU regulation makes it impossible for them to do it. Yeah, there's no real, there's not really much to say. It was a early stage stock investment that most people would not get the chance to invest because it's normally for accredited investors only. Swissborg opened it up to everybody, and yeah, I think long term it'll be worth an absolute fortune. You look at some of the big companies, Robinhood, Coinbase, they've all IPO'd at crazy numbers. Don't think Swissborg's going to compete with Coinbase. However, could they IPO at 4 or 5 billion? Absolutely. I think the shares were bought at maybe 270 million. So yeah, a 20x on your investment, easy. So yeah, I'm not really concerned about it. I don't really understand. I think Hank just learned the word rug, so he's just going to use it for everything. But yeah, in terms of the Series A, I wouldn't worry about it. It's just one of those things. In an ideal world, they would make it liquid and people could trade it and stuff and create a secondary market. But realistically, it was a community round, and for the regulations and the issues that would cause, it's really not worth it. It's one of those things you just want to sit on and make money on it when eventually the IPO or get acquired, whichever comes first. I would imagine probably after this bull run, something will happen. Just for the timing, the maturity of the industry, and probably the fact that TradFi is now coming in and scooping up a lot of these big companies. Somebody will probably acquire them at the end of the bull run, which will be perfect timing. Thomas says, all well and good getting Powell out, but if other people vote to keep rates the same, what's the point in him going? Well, to be fair, Powell is very anti-Trump, which we all know. He, in my opinion, knows his time's coming to an end, so he's trying to protect his legacy. But also, the chairman does have a lot of sway. The chairman can mould people's opinions. Also, if you look at the market moves a lot based on his press conference rather than the rate decision. So he indicates to the markets what is maybe coming down the line. So the Fed chair definitely has a lot of power. Now, him leaving and somebody replacing him, if they're pro-Trump and they're pro-getting rates down, rates will come down. That's literally a fact. And yeah, to be honest, the economists in the States have been wrong all 2025. They predicted tariffs were going to cause 4, 5, 6% inflation. That never happened. They predicted recession. They predicted a Great Depression. Then it was stagflation. They predicted all these things, and they were all wrong. Inflation's down. Unemployment's actually kind of flat, a little bit up. Growth is absolutely flying. And if growth comes in at 4% in Q1, it'll be the first year-over-year 4% growth out with a recession or COVID since the 80s, I want to say. So, economists were wrong, and Powell was wrong. Powell should have rates much, much lower. They also use backwards-looking data, and I think the new Fed chair wants to be more a forecaster than a reactor. So I think that's where it comes down to. I don't think it's just about they all just go in a room and secretly vote. That's not how it works. Let's have a look at Jasmine. I think I've got Jasmine on. I might not actually. Somebody delisted it, I'm sure. I don't really know much about it. I know it's got a big Asian following. It might actually be an Asian privacy coin or something, or AI coin or something. I can't remember. Yeah, it looks. Yeah, I mean, it looks pretty bottomed here. The fact that today it's retraced down here. Yeah, I mean, it looks. I mean, it's still up from its lows. It's not filled this wick, but I don't think most alts will. So yeah, it doesn't look too bad. I think it's got quite a lot of upside. 630% to take out the Trump winning the election move. That's quite a nice trade, I would say. 6x just from here, and then see where it can get to. I think most altcoins will easily eclipse the Trump election win. If you look at the amount of liquidity that was actually in the market at the time, it wasn't a lot. There's more liquidity coming. I think we'll easily eclipse those levels. So even if you're targeting those levels, on most altcoins, you're going to see some significant returns. So yeah, Jasmine looks okay. Cardano on the weekly actually looks a bit bearish. It looks like it could come down. 3-day chart looks bearish as well. It looks like it got rejected from this level at 42 cents. Yeah, look, 42 cents actually looks like quite a big level on the 3-day chart. Let's try and zoom in. Let's actually do this. Let's take some of these lines off the screen. Yeah, you can see that level there. If we go down to 3-day, you can see it's been quite a key level. Resistance, so support in here as well. So yeah, it looks like it's rejected there. It looks like we could come back down, maybe test these lows around 33 cents. I still think there's potentially one pullback. I think the 88k CME gap does get filled. I think if we hold this level here and start climbing and take out 99, 100k, then I think we're fine for now. But yeah, I do think 88k still screams CME gap, fill it. I think on Monday coming, it's Martin Luther King Day in the States, which means it's a bank holiday. And when US banks are closed, there's thin liquidity. I would imagine we'll see something happen with Iran this weekend because markets are closed on Monday. It gives them an extra day to react and calm down. That would be my expectation, is something happens this weekend with Iran. Let's see. Ross says, seen some big pages on Twitter are still calling for a dip below 80k. I mean, they were right previously with the big dip since October. I guess, like, it's all probabilities. I suppose you just need to be careful which accounts, because there's a lot of accounts that have called a lot of things wrong over the last couple of years. So, yeah, I don't think we'll break below 80k. I think we'll do all-time high Bitcoin before we do 74k, put it that way. So I think if I had to... Yeah, I don't think we break 80k anytime soon. I think this low here, maybe we fill this wick a little bit if something happened. But nah, my target's 88k, maybe back down to 84.5. That's probably as low as I see us going in the next few weeks. Next, what's the type of X in something like Series A? Yeah, I think 10x is definitely possible. Definitely. Kieran says, Opulus and Flame, how we feeling? Yeah, still the same. I think Opulus is a ridiculous buy. I think sub 1 cent is crazy. I guess the one thing I would say is I don't really know what's going on with Opulus. I've not checked it out in a while. I could maybe do a bit of a CC Pro members update. Flame's been crazy recently. You know, back in November we pumped all the way up here to like 4 cents. Now we're back down at a third of a cent, 0.003. Crazy volatile. It just shows what a little bit of capital in such a tiny market cap coin can do. But yeah, still definitely bullish on them both. But I think if I had a spare, if I was gambling on a crypto and I had $1,000 to spend, Opulus wouldn't be a bad place to put it, because literally you get to 89 cents and you've made 100x. That's insane when we think that, you know, the chart's just crazy. So yeah, up to this green band, you basically make 100x. It's not bad odds, I would say. But yeah, there's still, this is the thing, I think green markets kind of confuse people and make them think that they need to rush into the market. Somebody DM'd me the other day saying, oh, I was waiting on some money coming in, have I missed the move? And it's like, no, like the markets are still, and all I always do is go back to when Trump got elected. Sui still below the price, or Sui, whatever you want to call it, still below the price on the day Trump got elected. You go through the market, CRV, where were we? Yeah, so what, we're up 45%, to be fair. CRV's up pretty nicely, but you look at across the market, even Cardano, 39 cents, I think it was 33. Yeah, 33 cents when Trump got elected. We're still so low. Uniswap, when Trump got elected, we were up at $7. We're now down at $5.25. The market is in deep value territory. We are way undervalued. I think the upside is just screaming everybody in the face, but I think green convinces them they've missed the move. Red spooks them out and thinks that we go much, much lower. I shared it in CC Pro, dollar cost average, buy in every week, you'll do fine. Polkadot, $2.10. You think it was $3.84 when Trump got elected? We've retraced that entire move and some. And it does look like it's going to come back down, maybe back down to the 175 level. Again, just huge upside potential for these. I don't know if it'll do $10. I think, yeah, I don't think it's going to do $10. I think a good target for it would be 50 cents. But yeah, it could definitely fill this wick. It could definitely do $1. But yeah, $10 might be a stretch. What's that, 100x from here? Yeah, might be a stretch. Sushi, still bullish, to be fair. I think the market's just in that limbo where I am super bullish, but there's nothing really to get excited about. Even the last 2 weeks, I've been kind of posting pretty neutral thoughts because I'm not convinced we don't fill the CME gap, but at the same time, these little, you know, even the 10-15% move, we're still way under where I thought we'd be at this point. So until we start reclaiming some key levels, I wouldn't be getting too bullish. I think once Sushi reclaims the 50 cent level back in this green box, then the bottom will be in. We probably do something. Where's my? Like if we could, I reckon Sushi probably goes down from here just a little bit. Then back into this green box. Let me drop. So maybe down, test the low, then up, test this, and then from there, something like that. There'll be more moves up and down in it. But yeah, I think this level, 50 cents, 51 cents, is a key level for Sushi. I think break above it, you're going to back test it, and then from there we could start to see some movement. I also think Total 2, it looks pretty bearish on the weekly. Unless we get some news tomorrow, I can't really see too many reasons why we wouldn't go lower. I think that bank holiday weekend, there's nothing happening tomorrow. Few Fed speakers, Bank of England speaking, pointless. Bank holiday in the States Monday, so you do have that extra risk, I would say. And then next week, Trump speaking, but no big events. I mean, CPI in the UK, not really a big event, I'd say. But then we do have PCE and final GDP and unemployment claims on Thursday. That'll be the biggest driver of the rate cut the following week. So Thursday, before we get any kind of macro headlines. So I think we're probably just going to be in a bit of a range, trading sideways, up and down. Unless, of course, the Clarity Act was to pass, then that would send markets much, much higher. Alvaro get to... Alvaro will make a new all-time high this bull run. Alvaro will certainly make a new all-time high in this bull run. That is... I'm not even concerned. It's ridiculous buy right now. Let me clarify that. I don't think it's going to do this 425 nonsense that's on CoinMarketCap. But I think it'll do... What did we buy it at? 15 cents? Was it 15 cents? I think it'll do like $2 or something like that. This 425 is fake. All right, that is all for tonight. If you're not in CC Pro, check out the link. We have daily updates. We've got podcasts. We've got live streams just for members. Loads of updates coming as well. We have a new beginner section, which is some key goods as well. But until next time, I will be back very soon. Thanks very much for tuning in. Make sure to drop a like on the stream, and I will see you all very soon.